Good evening and welcome on the table with Fabina. I would introduce Swirl Moore Williams today, and I'm very honored that she's my guest on my podcast show. Maybe you can introduce yourself a little bit so that people from all over the world know who you are.
Yes, thank you so much, Fabina, for having me here. It is an honor. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So I am the co-founder of the Vitalist Project, and with my lovely husband, we both are lifestyle transformation artists, and we guide people holistically through to their betterment. I tend to really be focus on inspiring people to be their best selves, whatever that looks like for them, because it's really unique.
Mm-hmm.
And we both teach multiple things. We're lineage holders, and one of the modalities we teach is called alpha biotics, and this is a nervous system brain reboot. That is a hands-on manual technique that brings the brain out of a stress state and into whole brain function so that the body is in the most optimal place to do what it does best, which is to heal itself. We also are the lineage holders for a spinal maintenance movement series that's called EDU. And that's not an acronym. It just stands for the edge of you, which is your spine. It's
Yes.
where the two halves of your being meets, the masculine, the feminine, the right, the left, the yin, the yang, however you want to look at it. They meet in the center line of the body, which is your spine, your spinal column. And this practice is it's very unique as far as that it combines lots of different things together. As it is a movement practice, like I said, but it also is somewhat meditative in the movements, and then it's told through a story, so it engages the imagination and becomes a life-affirming, self-reflective story, all while
Yes.
moving and toggling the spine. So those are kind of the main things that we do at the Vitalist Project. We also do lead different retreats and help people through guiding them and coaching them, whether it's through a cleanse or a lifestyle shift or transformation that they're going through.
Yeah, but it's not usual that somebody just made or start this. How do you, how did this begin? How do we, because we have all a way of thinking, and this
Mm-hmm.
is very special.
Yeah, so for me, it really started a very long time ago in my teenage years. I mean, even as a child, I was very intuitive and very in tune with source energy, with spirituality,
Mm-hmm.
and was really guided a lot. But then I also struggled with being human and found it quite dense to be in this 3D world, and really struggled with so many aspects of it as I became a teenager, and hormones were changing and I was trying all sorts of new things. I really just kind of wanted to like cut the corner and end it all. It was like ultimately I just wanted to go home, whatever that means, wherever my soul dwells when it's not, in body form. And through 2 suicide attempts that did not work, gratefully, I'm grateful today that they did not work. But I was led to seeking my purpose. Basically, I was told that, anyone else would be dead who did what I did, and so I must be here for a reason.
Yes,
And
yes.
after 2 doctors told me that, I said, okay, well, I don't know what that means, but might as well figure it out.
And
And
what age were you then?
I was 15.
15. That's very young.
Yes. And so then I started to figure out what this was, what my purpose might be through a
Mm-hmm.
journey of self-love and really focusing on how to know myself, love myself, care for myself, and was able through that process was able to get to know myself, but simultaneously my body started to deteriorate, and I was in quite a bit of physical pain. By the time I was 16, my back was just in chronic pain. Some days I couldn't get up out of bed. Some days I couldn't really be touched. I had so much just physical pain, and my body was just kind of falling apart. And so when I was 16, had through a series of seeing many doctors and specialists, trying to find out what was happening, I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia, degenerative disc disease, and the onset of osteoarthritis, as well as some scoliosis and kyphosis, all kinds of spinal
Mm-hmm.
issues, and told that if things proceeded on in the way that they were, that I would be in a wheelchair by the time I was 30. And being told that at the age of 16, I was like, wait, what? Like, so I have to be here because I have this purpose to live, but I'm like falling apart. And so I really got on mission to heal myself, to figure out how to make that diagnosis not be true, to
Yeah.
not be what would happen to me. And so that led me to many different modalities, many offerings, different things. I would just search and try to find different things, from nutrition and hydration. And so that's really what I found was there's 6 kind of like, let's call them main categories,
Yes.
that if I have them in balance in my life and in my body, then I'm kind of like, I feel really good. I
Mm-hmm.
don't have very much pain. And I'm like doing really good at like 3D living. And so that's, like I said, it's nourishment. So that's looking at, how is my body being nourished? How is my spirit being nourished? How is my mental state being nourished? Hydration. As we know, water is life. We're made of a large percentage of water as
Yeah, yeah.
humans, water planet. And so I found being hydrated and was really important, because chronic dehydration is cause a lot of issues, from inflammation to headaches and other things. And then clean water that's restructured and mineralized, and um, really has a deep effect
Yeah.
on the body. And then there's rest. And so I had to learn to temper rest in my body. Like, sometimes I needed more rest, sometimes I needed less rest. But if I rested too much, then I would be a little stiff. And if I didn't rest enough, then I would have aches and pains. And so I had to learn how to rest and really be still within myself, so that I could deeply listen and begin to know, like, okay, what is next for me, or what's the best move to make? And it was always coming back into like a resting state, even if it was an active rest, still resting. And then the other 3 that I followed, that I wanted to keep in balance, was breath. How am I breathing? Breath work, I'm sure you've heard or maybe even have experienced, is very profound and has had huge effects for me in my life. And really, it boils down to just consciously breathing and knowing that I'm breathing more, excuse me, more than just oxygen, more than just the air around me. But when we breathe, we're breathing in life energy.
Yeah.
And so doing breath work, consciously breathing in general, taking conscious breaths each day became really important to me, as well as sound. And sound is, I mean, they say with all creation, there's sound and light, like everything is sound and light vibrations. And so getting into the frequencies of sounds, and allowing my body to, and my voice to express authentically in making the sounds that need to be made, whether they were gibberish or toning or whatever that might be, even into the internal sounds, the sounds of my internal world, and how I'm speaking to myself and things like this, keeping my sounds in balance. And then the final one was movement. And movement is life as well. Like, all things that are alive are moving. And so I learned different ways to move my body, and how things could be moved within my body to also relieve the pain. And once I started kind of figuring out this little spiral of these categories, and I could make my way through them all and just really stay present,
Yeah.
which is what I found is kind of at the center of everything, is really the more present that I am for my experience, and no, the more that I get to enjoy my existence, because everything is happening right now in this now moment. And so coming to all of those things, I eventually found ways that I could help myself and
Yeah.
therefore help other people. And that's really what it was I was like, wow, this really worked for me. I should learn how to do this and see if I can help other people. And then that's just, my path just unfolded in those ways of, oh, this thing works. Oh, this resonates with me. I should see, well, how did that do for me? And then if it worked, I was ready to learn and share with others. And I'm naturally a guide, and I love sharing. I love talking. I love teaching. And so it became really natural for me to want to not just share with other people, but to teach other people as
Mm-hmm.
well.
So you were talking about gibberish. Maybe some people is, what language is that? Because nobody, I know what it is, but maybe
Hmm.
you can explain a little bit what it is.
Yeah. Gibberish is a universal language of just making sounds that are repetitive. And the whole point of it is for it to not really make sense. Because when we get too much in our brains or in our minds, too logical or analytical, then we can sometimes constrict ourselves. And so gibberish is a fun way that anyone can do, because it's its own language of repeating different consonants or vowels, and putting them together. So to learn, it's like ba, 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 ka, ka, di, la, la, like just saying different sounds
Mm-hmm.
over and over. And then once you kind of get the hang of that, saying things, basically 3 times, then you can start to mix them up.
Yeah.
And it doesn't actually make any sense. But there's so much expression that can be had through it. And we can learn so much through the tones and through even body language when we're with other people, whether we speak the same language or not. And so gibberish is something that I love to do personally, because I feel like it's something that's really fun, and it helps me not take myself too seriously. And then I like to help other people in that too, because a lot of times people really we tend to be controlling, and really need to keep ourselves in this way or this or that way, and formative and in control.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's not, it's,
Did you ever
yes.
do it with several people? It's amazing. Then you have a conversation, and yeah, it's
Yeah,
really
we just
fun,
have a conversation, and you can just for fun and start to, just explain, how to, like, directions to your favorite restaurant
Yeah.
in gibberish.
Yeah, so it's just body language, I my son, he was I think he was a year of 4, and we were in France. So the one boy spoke French, he spoke Dutch, and
Mhm.
they was has a conversation to each other, and they spoke 2 different language, and they knew perfectly what they want to do. They want football, they want swimming, they did everything together, and yeah, it's only body language. And we, as grown up, we forgot it because we have to go in the line. And
Yeah.
it's so beautiful if you realize that the line, what's that?
Hmm.
What is normal? What is so if they say to me, Fabina, act normal, I said, yeah, this is normal for me. So
Yeah,
is it
exactly.
is it how it is? It's so
Yeah.
amazing. It's just that we learned to get really follow the guidance that, or the rules or the law, instead of
Hmm.
follow ourselves, because
Right.
everything is inside us.
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
we are all, most of them are here.
Mm-hmm.
We have no,
Yeah, most people are very in their heads and cut off from the rest of their body. Um, really, yeah, really heady people. And it's like that's not really like living if we're not like embodied and in our, especially like in our lower, in our heart chakras and our lower energy centers. A lot of times it's like we're cut off here and like we got a lot going on in the ajna and in the crown even, but like there's not a connection flowing through this like the bridge into the rest of the body. And so definitely a lot of the work that I do is helping people get embodied and in very evolutionary ways, in ways that they can evolve within themselves to be all of who they are.
and how do they react?
I think
Because
people you know, they love it because they get to feel deeper parts of themselves, like things that they didn't know that they could feel before. And most of the time, it feels really good to be in alignment with yourself and to have your brain turned on and to have your your energy moving through your body in a way that can be felt, like I said, even through a conscious breath. Like I remember my first conscious breath. I was 23 years old and I was like, wait, how have I made it this far without breathing? And of course, because our bodies naturally do it on its own, but it's the only system that we have that we can somewhat control or manipulate or utilize with our conscious mind. Our unconscious mind is going to do it anyway. It's like parasympathetic is going to make sure
yeah,
we keep breathing. But when we add consciousness to it, it brings it to a new level. Like I said, where then we're breathing in energy and we're invigorating our cells and they start vibrating at new frequencies and higher frequencies and new levels. And most people respond quite well. Um, it's there's there's work that can be done and it's not always easy and it's not always um, I mean, sometimes things get a little darker before they get lighter.
yes,
And um and I'm here for that, and like that's what I support. I'm like, yes, like let's go to the through the darkness. Let's find the things that have been buried in those deep dark corners, which are usually your organs, and let's reveal them. Then and that's, it's what we found is that transformation isn't about changing who you are, it's about revealing the depths of who you are and then allowing yourself to just become
yes, yes, it's
that.
true. And it's also, it's my thinking, of course, that we are all humans, and what do? Or we hoard. So we are also hoarding traumas, and we put them all in a big bag and carry it, and everything. It's almost bigger and bigger. I always say it's like the Harry Potter, the tent of Harry Potter. It's in a sack, and it's going. If you pop it open, it's very very. It's a castle,
Yeah.
and you have to work with it. And if you start cleaning up, then you see lights and you see things again, and you see,
Hmm.
oh yes, it doesn't look so ugly than I
Hmm.
really thought, because we are big creators.
Exactly. And that's a huge part of it is what you just said is taking the responsibility of the self to be a creator because we are co-creators in our lives. And when really stepping into empowerment, which is it's a huge focus for me, is helping people just live in their power. Like it's innate as humans. We all
Hmm.
have this life force energy, this power within us to, to co-create our lives. That's what we're here to do. And oftentimes due to traumas and upbringings and beliefs, limiting beliefs and different things like this, people get stuck in that victim mentality and want to kind of play kind of those games in that way where it's like they just want someone to rescue them, or they want to blame someone else for what's going on in their life instead of taking responsibility and knowing that, like, oh, actually, this is all happening for me, and I created this, and I can create whatever I want. But like the work of taking that consciousness on and then and moving through, like you said, doing that cleanup, it takes a lot of strength and vulnerability and perseverance to work through some deep trauma, cellular traumas, and generational traumas.
Yeah,
There's so many aspects.
yeah. I always said we live in a shitty world, and we have an umbrella, and most people open it because that's what we learned. So they hope
Mhm.
everybody is solving your shit. But what happens if you close it and look around and clean up your shit? Because then it's clean. And
Yeah,
I always said I need some more lives to clean everything. But yeah, it's like that. Most people just open it and boom, everything come somewhere
yeah,
else.
exactly.
And it's your responsibility to look at what you have to learn, because and some people forget what it means, because they
Hmm.
think, okay, you're responsible for my things. No,
No.
it's no, it's
Yeah,
just
I
so
mean, yeah,
yeah.
go ahead.
I was trying to say to you, everybody thinks it's your fault. No, because if you look in somebody's eyes, it's a mirror, so you see yourself. And people always said, "Oh no, it's your fault." Yeah, of course it's. If you say it's your fault, that is one finger to you and three to me.
That's right. Exactly. And there's no point of the blame and shame. It doesn't actually help anybody out. It just creates more and more drama. And that's not really an empowered dynamic. That's not a growth mindset. And so helping people, you know, see that is, it can be very it's a very delicate situation of getting people to remember who they are and what they're doing here. And then it's not just like, oh, like as you said, I love that metaphor of the shit
Big
raining
time.
down. And it's like everyone has shit,
Yeah,
and it's not anyone else's responsibility. It's not your parents, responsibility to clean up your shit. Like they did their best, hopefully, and or not, I mean, but it's like each of us have our own stories.
and even
And
then,
I believe that the circumstances, our life circumstances, and that these certain things that we are born into and the way that our life unfolds and these different traumas that occur, that weren't our fault. We're not like, oh, I made that thing happen to me, but that they're actually a part of our life's curriculum,
yeah,
and that we're here to learn from that and to grow from that so that we can raise our vibration and we can have a better experience, and then maybe we don't have to learn that lesson again.
yeah, that's the meaning. For me, it's the meaning. If I,
Yeah.
for example, some time ago, I was paralyzed. So, but I put a lot on my hips because I carry a lot of shit in my hips, and I was unable to digest it. So it was on my belly zone. So it was for a few days till I thanked my body and said, thank you for showing what I have to do.
Hmm.
And it didn't take any pills. I just pure mindset, and step by step. I had elastic legs, yeah, it was not so nice, but it felt. And after a while, I just constantly put my brain positive words and positive things, and I said, okay, I know what to do, and thank you again. And okay, it's a little bit, this lesson is very painful, but I'm learning from it. And several days later, slowly, I walked again, and I'm not jumping yet, but I walk again,
Hmm.
and step by step, it's going better. That's also the same thing that happens more or less. We learn from our pain, and I also do a lot of self-test, how you say that, test on
Mhm.
myself and see and
Yeah,
exploring, and before I use it on my clients, before I
exactly.
share it with my client, because it's important that you really know from the feeling what it can do with others.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I tell a lot of my students is you can't take someone to places that you haven't been before, you
No.
know? So you have to be willing to explore those depths and go through these experiences so that you can hold space for another person. That you can say, "Oh yeah, I know what that feels like," or "I have an idea at least, you know, through my own experience of what that's like." Because
Yeah.
then you can really meet someone with wherever they are.
Yeah. It's also hips is a sacral chakra,
Yeah,
so you know
they
what it
hold
means.
a lot of sadness in the hips.
Yeah. And also I a long time I didn't dance anymore, so it was
Mm.
also the rhythm of the passionated dance.
Yeah, I mean that's the rhythm of life,
Yeah.
and as I had kind of mentioned earlier, with movement, it's like when we stop moving, then that kind of creates this stagnation. And if there's like you know you have joy in dancing and moving your body, and then your body becomes used to moving in that way, and then all of a sudden you're not doing it anymore, then not only are you not feeling the joy that comes from the movement, but now the body's not actually being used to do that, and it starts to like atrophy or yell back, you know, like, hey,
Yeah.
I like that. I like that. I wanted to do that. I liked doing that. I know for me, on an emotional, physical level, that's a lot of what happened as a teenager, because after getting out of the hospital, I had all of my activities changed. Everything, my whole life had changed from trying to kill myself. And so coming out of it, it was kind of like a slow kill. It didn't work as quickly as I thought. And having to deal with that, you know, I learned a lot, but part of it was definitely learning how my body wants to move and where its limits are. If I moved too much, then it'd be too much. And
Mm-hmm.
I would feel it. I'm laid out a little bit the next day. But if I didn't move enough, then it's like, oh, I would just like all my fascia would stick together and it cause more tension and more inflammation. And then I would hurt more. And so it was like every day I had to find where is this place? Where is this perfect place of balance and how I'm moving and the kind of movement I'm doing. And, you know, I love walking in nature. It is so good for every aspect of the being,
Yeah.
you know, just like my mental health, my spiritual health, like everything. And it was part of it. It was like, oh, sometimes I could walk up and down the street. And that was what I was going to do that day. And then other days it was like, no, I'm going to go on a mile walk and see how that feels, you know. And eventually I was able to go backpacking, which was really cool. I mean, hiking like 10 miles a day with a backpack and not being in extreme pain, because I learned how to temper it and was working through it, of course. So it's, you know, lots of different modalities, but there's a way, you
Yeah.
know, there's a way to feel into your body. And I love that you came to that within yourself, that you were like, you know what, I'm going to listen to something. My body is telling me something here. And I'm going to just immediately go into the highest vibration, which is gratitude. And let's go from there. So you're brilliant at that.
Yeah. Your body is yeah is is really, how you say that, it's, yeah, the machinery that we live in, it's so complicated but so amazing, and we know like this from it, or we
Hmm.
feel from that, but it gives us constantly signs what's inside us.
Yeah.
It's if you listen, if you are aware or awake to listen to that machine, because I always said, normally this machine is making to work on itself and
Mhm.
restore everything. And if it's something is there's dust between two bones, okay, the body will take time to clean it. But but the stress, that's poison. So we
Yeah.
got so much in this moment in this world, we got a lot of shit, but also that shit gave us a lot of stress.
Yeah, definitely. And stress, I mean, it's in so many different forms and in so many different ways. And ultimately, it's like our perception of stress is what is creating the effects that are happening in our body. And that's how the same trauma can happen to different people, but it affects them in different ways because of the
Yeah.
way they're perceiving it. And that's what we have found is what we know about stress is that our brain is designed, it works in two modes only. There's rest and digest, growth and repair mode, and then there's our protection mode. This is our survival mode. This is what we've all heard of as like fight or flight or freeze, fawn. And there's only these two modes. And what happens is when we perceive a stress, then the brain will lateralize to one hemisphere. So one hemisphere of the brain will have a lot of power. And the other side kind of will get a little brown out, like away from the, so like if there's a stress and I perceive it happening here, say like an attack is happening, then this side will kind of brown out and most brain power will go over here. This side of the brain controls this side of the body. So the opposite side, so it's going to like constrict and get ready to fight or run right the other way. And we're designed to do this as humans. This is amazing because this is how we've survived so long. When that's because survival is like the brain's number one priority. And so what happens though is that instead of, well, let me back up. So what will happen is we'll get the stress state happens where we run away from this attack. We know within 20 to 30 minutes whether we make it or not. And then there's usually like there's a clear ending there that's like, okay, so if it was a bear attacking us, then the bear goes away. And then our brain says, oh, okay, that went away. And it can naturally go back into whole brain function and balance itself out. The body relaxes and can go on doing what it was already doing. Unfortunately, that is what we call is a primitive stress or a simple stress, where there's a very clear beginning and a very clear ending. And, something came out of the woods, we got away, then it left, clear beginning, clear ending. But today in modern society, we have what's known as complex stress, which is many beginnings and no clear ending. So that's waking up late because the alarm didn't go off, and then spilling the coffee on yourself as you're trying to get out the door because you're in a hurry, and then you're in the car and someone cuts you off in traffic, and then your boss yells at you when you get to work because you are late. And it just many beginnings where there's no clear ending to any to any of it. It just bombards us. And so what happens is we get locked into that stress state and we get locked into that survival mode, which we're only designed to be in for a max of probably 20 to 30 minutes. And so then what happens is all of our vital systems such as digesting, respiration, immune function, cell repair, all kind of goes on the back burner because the brain is just, I need to survive. Like, what you're digesting doesn't matter if you're not going to live. So when we get locked in that stress state, then things start to slowly deteriorate. And that's why they say that stress causes, 90-some% of all diseases, according to like the World Health Organization, because it really does. It impacts us in this way, and our brains don't know how to rebalance itself. And so there's tons of modalities out there that can help bring us back into a whole brain function. And there's lots, different yoga, breath work, like I talked about before, different movement modalities, meditations that can all be done that can help us, soothe our nervous systems and come into balance and out of that stress state. And that's one of the things that I teach is called alpha biotics, and it's that brain reset that I was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
It is the quickest, most effective way that I've found to reset the brain, and it happens very, very quickly. And then it's kind of like sending that all good signal. It's like the end signal, like, hey, it's okay, to the brain.
Yeah.
Brain will scan the field in the body, and in 0.4 seconds, realize it's not in imminent danger, come back into whole brain function, and then the body follows into balance. And this is it's a stress relief and recovery system that over time, when someone stays in balance and in alignment, then the brain starts to adapt to stress better, because that's what basically is going on, is that we're maladapted for modern stress.
Yeah.
We just don't know what's a bear and what's not. So that's one of the modalities that we have. And we also found, like I said, I mentioned Edu. I love Edu because not only does it help the spine stay fluid and flexible, and it's what really helped me get out of the chronic pain that I was in my back pain, and has totally changed my entire life. I'm over 30. I just had my 38th birthday the other day, and I'm not in a wheelchair. I'm very healthy and can move. And so I definitely changed my life and did not follow that diagnosis. But same thing with Edu, and the way it works with the brain is it has these rhythmic movements that cross the midline of the body. And when
Mm-hmm.
that happens, it forces the hemispheres of the brain to communicate through the corpus callosum. And when they're communicating, then they can start to both stay energized and rebalance themselves out, which then keeps the body in balance too. So those are two ways that we've found that really help our body release and recover from the accumulated stress. Because that's what happens, is that we end up just getting locked in it and stuck, and then it builds up and it builds up and it builds up. And then we're just kind of locked in this primitive state, really in the back of the brain, playing predator prey games all the time, instead of being in the forebrain, being at a human level of function and being that co-creator and taking the responsibility.
Yeah.
So,
But also
yeah.
people say, oh, well, it's possible that I had a headache or a migraine or what. For me, it's really so logical because they are always here.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of constriction going
And
on.
if during my treatments, how many times I start with the head, with the skull,
Mhm.
to see if the skin is loose or not, or it's stuck.
Yeah.
And if it's stuck, then I really know what's following, because it's all very tension. There are a lot of tension. And then I start also with breathing, and I let them breathe, or I do a meditation during my treatments, because it's important that they go down, that they start to go
Exactly.
down. And
Yeah, they have to come into that parasympathetic state, and start to let the body release and relax. And so that's the key. I mean, and that's what I love that about your work, is that it's kind of unique to the individual. You listen to the body and what's
yeah,
happening to the body, and I work in the same way. And because every body is unique. Each body's different, and each body has its own stories and its own traumas and its own, things that it's holding on to. And so, but it really is the key, is
yeah.
like helping um, restore balance and power to the body, to the being.
And we are all unique also. I always
Hmm.
said everybody talks. Instead, I
It
just
does.
split it. I work a lot also with words, but
Hmm.
people has no clue what words does with them. I always
Yeah,
use
well, exactly.
in English. I always said pressure. You sure pressure yourself, because people are constantly putting a lot of. I have to do this quick and that quick, and I have
Yeah.
to. It's always hurry, 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 because the
Mhm.
time, and
Yeah.
is time really, does it exist? For me, no.
No. And exactly, and that's where people get really stuck. And as presence moves through the body, presence moves through the vertical line of the body.
Hmm.
That's the now moment. It's ever presently flowing through the central line of the body. And what I found is that time, or what people perceive as of time, is very horizontal. There's like the past over here and the future over here. And I'm either, living over here in regret, shame, whatever, what was, maybe yearning for maybe what was. And then over here in this imaginary land, it can actually create a lot of anxiety and fear, of the future. And so what happens when people let their minds go in horizontally, then it actually moves the energy out of the body horizontally too. And so it like constricts and or like causes like yeah, like a jetty, out of the life force energy. Instead of it flowing presently through the midline of the body, now it's like you're losing it over here. And now it's like, oh, now I have some neck pain. Or,
Hmm.
oh, I'm losing it over here. Oh, now I'm not digesting very well. Because there's these different things where like energetically we're just leaking this amazing life force energy that flows through us because we're not being present. People get stuck in those other realms of time
So,
and the illusion of time.
you mean, is it the same that Kundalini that you mean?
Yeah, so Kundalini is it's just an expression of the two masculine and feminine aspects of the human body weaving up through the central channel. That's what people refer to as the Kundalini, or if they have a Kundalini awakening, is like from the base up, that there's this energy surge and flow that happens. And so very much so, that's what I'm meaning is as I'm speaking about life force energy,
Yeah.
that it flows through the Sushumna in the same tradition that the Kundalini comes from. I believe they call it the Sushumna channel. It's also known as the Jed, or the pranic tube. I tend to call it the axis of presence, or the central channel, but they're all referring to the same thing, no matter which tradition that we look at. That we're all looking through this column that's like a central column, like a tube, a tube that runs through the center of the body. And then from there, all of our energy flows in this toroidal field, like a donut shape, up, out, and down, and in all directions. And in both directions, there's this spiraling energy coming from this tube. That's what comes from our energy centers. And the Kundalini, like I said, it's this meeting of this masculine and the feminine. So Ita, Pingala is like these energies that they weave together, which was kind of in that double helix motion,
Hmm.
weaving together up the spine or through that central channel. And the more that we become present, so I I don't specifically say that I work with the Kundalini, but we do, like there's no way that it doesn't, that the energy, this Kundalini energy, this life force energy that runs through us, the way that I work and the things that I help people with, it naturally starts creating this movement and working through blockages and misalignments and different things, so that their own life force energy can move through the channel with as much fluidity and strength as possible, so that they're empowered and they are healing themselves in whatever way that they need, because that life force energy is able to flow.
Yeah. Well, it's amazing that you learn them or you teach them how to heal themselves.
Yeah, that's the way. I actually I get really turned off when someone calls me their healer, um because I'm the only person that I can heal. I'm happy to guide and to help and to coach even, like, And I even will facilitate or, you know, with my hands on, but ultimately it's not me that's doing the work for somebody, you know, like I just help people get into the most optimal space for them to do what they do best. I trust and I believe in the body's innate wisdom to heal itself. The wisdom of the body that made the body heals the body.
But
And
we
I
are a
believe it.
channel, no? We are a channel from the universe that give us the power to give on the person somehow.
Yeah. Yeah. I like to think of myself as a conduit. I'm just a conduit that energy flows through. And as long as I keep myself healthy and aligned, then I can be, you know, a clear, powerful conduit and I can help people in whatever ways that they need, you know, and like I really turn the responsibility back to each individual, you know, that it's like if they say, oh, you know, oh, you healed me, you know, and I'm like, no, actually, you're who showed up here. You're who did the work. You're, you know, whatever it is that they did, you know, when, however they were working with me, that it's always like, you chose to come here and you're who did the work, who went through this process, who released, who's now integrating, you know, like you're the one who's having this transformative process. I'm just here supporting you, challenging you, and just, you know, helping you
Waking
along
them
the
up
way.
and
Yeah,
waking them up and see that everything happens for a reason.
exactly. And you mentioned earlier that's like everyone's a mirror, and I hold up that mirror
Yeah,
often, that I'm like, look, this is anything you see in me is present in you. And I'm a divine activator, and so I like activate things that are in people. It's not like it's something that's new, it's just something they didn't know was there. Maybe it was dormant in them, you know, and I just will help activate it so that
hmm
they're more of who they are. They have access to more of themselves and being more of their life expression and more in tune with their essence so that they can live authentically.
yeah, because everything is like I said before, it's already inside us. And
Right.
you are, or me, we are, or everybody else waking up several things, and some are, can they work in a good direction? Sometimes they go backwards because something is happening that they think it's bad, but it's not bad because it's a lesson that we have.
Hmm.
And if you see the lesson, you go forwards. That's how, for
Exactly.
me, it works.
That's right. And I think we, you know, we have very similar beliefs in the way that we work with people because it's like I don't need to be responsible for anybody else, but I'm responsible for myself and the work that I do and the way that I'm willing to help people. And I just, you know, I just always shine someone's light back on them that is like, you are light, like you are healing, you are everything that you want to be. We just gotta, you know, help you see it and help you get there and maybe turn your mind and change the way that you're talking to yourself, change the way that you're talking to other people, or, you know, shift your perspective and have a new mindset. And you know, and then work, you know, at the physical levels too. I'm very multi-dimensional in the way that I work and in the awareness and helping people see that they are too.
hmm
Like we're all humans, and I love that we're called that because hue is like it's a spectrum.
hmm
And so we are all a part of this like spectrum of life, of humanity, you know, and like there's so many different, you know, bodies and shapes and colors and different things, you know, hues and tones that each of us are. And, you know, each of our voices have their own vibration. And that's a key, you know, to our soul essence and the way that we're expressing. And I just find it, I love humans. I love humans. I love working with humans. I'm like, yes, we're so fascinating beings and we are so powerful. And so it's like, that's my gift is like how can I help someone live in their power and know that they have the power to create the life that they want and the life that they would love to live so that they feel fulfilled. I mean, I like happiness. Happiness is great, but I'm really turned on by fulfillment.
Yeah.
Feeling fulfilled in life. Like I think that when I feel fulfilled and when I help other people feel fulfilled, that is like my greatest joy. And it continues to help me feel inspired to continue on feeling fulfilled.
Yeah. 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 I have the same. If you see and you can, if they understand it and you
Hmm.
see them and you said, oh, yeah, oh, I never thought about that.
Yeah.
Also, I do a lot of treatments and then you feel that, and then they say, yeah, you hurt me. I said, no, no. The back is your history that you carry with
Mhm.
you. And that's the pain of the history that you keep going and keep carrying with you. And I'm
Yeah.
just touching it with
Yeah.
one finger or with my hand. And I show you, work on it.
Yeah.
And it's so, yeah, it's so fascinating how you can show them and teach them. Of course, in my language, it's easier to also work with the words because sometimes they say I'm broken,
Mm.
or they are very tired, and I am broken. And I said, no, you feel broken or you feel exhausted. It's not that you
Yeah.
are in different parts because you're standing here in one part.
Yeah. You don't need to own that.
No, because people said I am, and I said, no, you feel.
Hmm.
It's a huge difference.
It's a huge difference. Our cells believe everything we say, the body listens.
Yes.
And so when we start to own things that are not true to us, that also causes misalignment, and can shift our whole vibration, like you said, to say, I am this, this thing. It's like, no, that's your, it's like, no, like, let's own it in a different way that like, this is what I'm feeling
Yeah.
in this moment. And I feel this way, but I am love, or I am empowered, or whatever, if like we're going to use I am statements, let's use them in an affirmative way to help our body begin to heal itself and come into alignment with more of who we are, more of what we want versus what we don't want.
Yes.
you
What we
know
want to order in the universe, I always said, put your order in the universe, and they will listen to it. You will get what you want. And if you
yeah,
said I am, yeah, then yeah, you will fall
that's
into
what you're going to
pieces.
get.
Yes. It's just, and then they see it and then they say, oh, I never thought about that. Oh,
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. And then it's just continuing to help them remember, because that's part of being human, is that we forget.
yeah, but it's 6 weeks before the brain accepts the change also.
Exactly. So it's
So
you have to do the work. It's a process of showing up for yourself, taking responsibility for yourself, calling in the things that you want.
it's so amazing. The brain and the body and all the machinery, like I always call it, because it's a
Hmm.
machine where we're living in, and it's working what we make of it. Because if we give them wrong food, or what food in food it's more than only that what we put in our mouth. It's the
Yeah,
energy, it's vibes, it's a lot.
exactly. Yeah, we're much more than just these, than just the machine and just like this little meat sack that that we're inside of, and that's part of why we call ourselves vitalists, because in vitalism we believe that there's more than just the mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
that there's a energy, there's this life force energy that's what is creating the the animation. That's what's creating all of the movement. That's what's creating the actual life, you know? So that's what we're about, you know?
Yeah, yes, that's but this is amazing for ending this podcast, because if you realize that that we are our own programmers,
Mm-hmm.
so I think it's the best part to say, yes, people think about that. And if you want to know more, then I will put your website and all your information
Yeah.
on it,
Yeah. If
because
people
it's
want
important that they
Yeah, if
know.
people want to know more, they can go to vitalswirl.com,
Mm-hmm.
and that is actually where there's a free gift for them that is my is my best offering as far as what I love to help people with when they really want to start tuning into themselves and making some changes in their lives and moving towards transformation is by taking small steps. And I have this mantra that small steps many times, one step at a time. And so I created a little kind of, it's called a small step vital calendar that can help people begin to take small steps towards things that they would love to do for themselves, to living a more fulfilled life.
That's
Because
nice.
that's one of the best advices I can give anybody is like, especially if you're in the darkness, especially if you're just really going through it and you're in a lot of pain, is that it's the small steps, and every step counts. Every step matters, and we just have to keep taking those small steps. You don't need to take leaps. You don't need to jump.
No,
You just need to take a small step, and each
and
step will create the dance, and you'll be on your way.
that's how it is. And sometimes we fall, and then you stand up and
That's right.
see how far you go and start all over again. Be
That's right.
nice to yourself, no? Yes.
Exactly. Yeah, kindness kindness is key, and it's contagious, and the more kind and gentle that we can be with ourselves, the more deeply we can trust and love ourselves, and the better our experience will be, and then that will start to flow out to those around us.
I really have the feeling that I can talk to you hours, but I think our, our viewers will say, okay, maybe we do it another time again, because it's very interesting to hear what you all have to say. It's amazing.
I would love that. Let's do that.
Okay, that's I would say to the listeners and watchers that thank you for this to listening for this podcast, and to the next one. Bye bye. Make my voice you calm down, and you definitely don't want to miss any episode of me. Follow me on as the subscribe to Spotify, iTunes, SoundCloud, or Anchor, so you can listen to my podcasts, my meditations, or the visions of life. If listening is not really your thing, but you prefer the visual, subscribe you to my YouTube channel. Whatever your preference go, subscribe to On the Table with Fabina. That is already the right choice, and thank you in advance. You have the opportunity to provide feedback on all channels. I think this is very important, because I believe that better informed, the better quality I can offer. With this, I would like to thank you again for your interest, and hope to see you again on one of my channels. Healing greetings, fabulous Fabina.